Hi everybody, I hope that you're all doing well. Today I will be filming my bookshelf tour for you. So this is the full view of my bookshelves. I don't have a very strict system on my shelves, but there is a rough order to things, which I'll go into a bit more when we get to each case and to each shelf. I have around about 670 books, excluding my TBR. So that's quite a bit to get organised. So here we have my TBR trolley, which is where I keep all of the books that are unread. Top shelf, as you can see, keeps my TBR priority, and the second shelf is for any leftover. I'm quite good at the moment. I've got quite a small TBR, so I don't need anything on that shelf. And then the third and final shelf is for all of the books that I have read, which I've not yet done a wrap-up for, which you will probably have seen that wrap-up already by the time this goes out. So then the first bookcase that you will see is where I keep my children's books, my YA and my romantic comedies, which is predominantly what I read pre-uni. And then this first bookcase, we can see my fairy tale books, my Roald Dahl and my Jacqueline Wilson. Starting off with the fairy tales, we've got the complete Grimm's Fairy Tales, Tales of the Marvellous and News of the Strange, and Fairy Tales from Around the World. Then we've got these beautiful editions of Roald Dahl. I have the BFG and then two Matildas. Then we have my box set of Roald Dahl, which includes the BFG, Matilda, SEO Trot, George's Marvellous Medicine, then Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator and the Magic Finger. Then we have Danny, the Champion of the World, The Twits, The Witches and Going Solo, The Giraffe and the Pelly and Me, James and the Giant Peach and Boy. And then we have my Jacqueline Wilson collection, which starts with the bind-up of The Story of Tracy Beaker and the Bed and Breakfast Star, The Dare Game, starring Tracy Beaker and the Illustrated Mum. Then we have Best Friends, Bad Girls, Double Act and The Lottie Project, How to Survive Summer Camp, The Suitcase Kid and Dustbin Baby, then the Girls series, Girls in Love, Girls Under Pressure, Girls Out Late and Girls in Tears. Then we have Love Lessons and Candy Floss. And then my hardbacks, we have Clean Break, Kiss, My Sister Jodie and Jackie Daydream, which is her memoir. Second shelf is a combination of children's and some YA. Starting off, we have The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher, Wildwood by Colin Malloy, this little nursery book that somebody made for me, and a poetry collection which 9-year-old me had a poem in, The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. Then my Narnia box set, including The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Then we have The Silver Chair and The Last Battle. Then we have the Clarice Bean books, which was one of my favourite series growing up. Utterly Me, Clarice Bean Spells Trouble and Clarice Bean Don't Look Now. Then we have Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling, The Didacoy by Rumer Godin, Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Then the Kathy Cassidy books, we have Dizzy, Indigo Blue, Driftwood, Scarlet and Sunday Girl. Then the only book I have in the series of Unfortunate Events, because I know what happens in book 2 to Uncle Monty and I can't handle it. Then we have A Little Princess and The Secret Garden, both by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Then Little Women and Good Wives, both by Louisa May Alcott. Then The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. The Happy Prince and Other Tales by Oscar Wilde. Goodnight Mr. Tom by Michelle Magorian. Holes and Small Steps by Louis Sachar. Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yenma. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. The Fault in Our Stars and Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Then Eleanor and Park, Attachments, Fangirl and Landline, all by Rainbow Rowell. And then I forgot to show you the decorations for my shelves. I have this little fairy, my genie and grumpy Sum Sum, and then I have this little elephant on the second shelf, which I think is adorable. Next up is my Meg Cabot and Sophie Kinsella shelf, kind of my chicklet shelf, which I feel like some people might call a guilty pleasure shelf, but I do not feel guilty about any of these. I love them so much. So starting off with the Princess Diaries, we have The Princess Diaries, Take Two, Third Time Lucky, Mia Goes Forth and Give Me Five. Then we have Successional, Seventh Heaven, After 8, To the Nines, and 10 out of 10. Then we have the sequel to The Princess Diaries Royal Wedding, All American Girl, and then the bind-up of the Queen of Babel series. Then we have Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella, The Undomestic Goddess, 20s Girl. Then The Secret Dream World of a Shopaholic, Shopaholic Abroad, Shopaholic Ties the Knot, Shopaholic and Sister. Then Shopaholic and Baby, Mini Shopaholic, Shopaholic to the Stars, Shopaholic to the Rescue, and Christmas Shopaholic. Then we have some standalones. We have Surprise Me, Remember Me, and I Owe You One. Then Wedding Night, I've Got Your Number, and My Not So Perfect Life. The next shelf, you can tell, is all full of books I read as a teenager because the covers are so dark. So starting off, we've got the Hunger Games series, Hunger Games, Catching Fire and Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Then we have His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, The Northern Lights, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass. Then we have the Trilogy of Five by Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, Life, the Universe and Everything, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and Mostly Harmless by Douglas Adams. Then we have my J.R.R. Tolkien box set with The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. Then we have my Mallory Blackman Noughts and Crosses series, Noughts and Crosses, Checkmate, Knife Edge, and Double Cross. Then we have the Twilight series, Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, and the novella The Short Second Life of Britannia. Then we have the Declaration series with The Declaration, The Resistance, and The Legacy, all by Gemma Malley. Then we have The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and then The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. The next shelf is a bit of a mishmash of YA and some rom-com-y kind of books. We have the Georgia Nicholson series by Louise Renison with Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging, It's Okay I'm Wearing Really Big Knickers, Knocked Out by My Nunga Nungas, Dancing in My Nuddy Pants, and That's When It Fell Off in My Hand. Then He Ate My Boy in Trances, Startled by His Furry Shorts, Love Is a Many Trousered Things, Stop in the Name of Pants, and Are These My Bazoomas I See Before Me? Then we have the Louisa Clark trilogy, Me Before You, After You, and Still Me by Jojo Moyes. Then we have the Rosie Project and the Rosie Effect by Graham Simpson, Half Bad by Sally Green, On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Then we have Everything I Never Told You and Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, If I Stay by Gail Foreman, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli, How to Build a Girl by Caitlin Moran, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by David Levithan and Rachel Cohen, Just Listen by Sarah Dessin, Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler, Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delaria, A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and The Diviners by Libba Bray. The final shelf on this bookcase is a little bit of a mess of lots of different things, but there are a few books on here. Firstly, we have Lauren Child's I Will Not Ever Never Eat a Tomato and I Am Too Absolutely Small for School. Then we have a collection of Greek myths for children. Then we have Roald Dahl's Revolting Rhymes, Hortense and the Shadow by Lauren O'Hara and Natalia O'Hara, Beware of Boys by Tony Blundell. I swear I used to have Beware of Girls, but who knows where that's gone. And then we've got The Bear and the Piano by David Litchfield, Homes for History, which is a National Trust book for children. Then we have The Gift by Carol Ann Duffy, these editions for children of Pride and Prejudice and Moby Dick. Then the Little People Big Dreams copy of David Attenborough, Mrs. Scrooge by Carol Ann Duffy, Peace at Last and Whatever Next by Jill Murphy, Pushchair Polly by Tony Bradman, Bye Bye Baby by Janet and Alan Alberg, Grandad Pot by Siobhan Dodds, A Piece of Cake and 5 Minutes Peace by Jill Murphy, and Ketchup on Your Cornflakes by Nick Sharratt. Then the rest of this shelf is just a mishmash of theatre programmes, music books and folders. Then onto the second bookcase. This is one of my favourites. It has my Christmas books, some of my favourite series, plays, poetry, and then some miscellaneous books at the bottom. The top shelf includes all of my Christmas books. We have the Faber Book of Christmas, We have Dickens at Christmas, all of Charles Dickens' Christmas writings, A Literary Christmas, an anthology by the British Library. We have Round the Christmas Fire, festive stories by various authors, Christmas Days by Jeanette Winterson. Then My True Love Gave to Me by a collection of YA authors. A Tudor Christmas by Alison Weir and Siobhan Clarke. And then we have this collection of Carol Ann Duffy poetry, all different Christmas books. From her we have Pablo Picasso's Noel, Bethlehem, The King of Christmas, A Christmas Truce, The Wren Boys, Dorothy Wordsworth's Christmas Birthday, Wenceslas, Another Night Before Christmas, and Frost Fair. Next up is my Harry Potter shelf. Harry Potter is my favourite book series, even if its author is not quite my favourite person. Anyway, on the shelf we have decorating it my Gryffindor badge and my little Hedwig mug, which my friend Sophie got for me. We have the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them screenplay. We have Harry Potter and the Cursed Child script. Then we have the Tales of Beedle the Bard, Quidditch Through the Ages and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Then my Gryffindor edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and then into the main series we have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, we have Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And then we have the illustrated version of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and then Harry Potter, A History of Magic. Following on from that, we have my A Song of Ice and Fire shelf with my Shrine to Sansa Stark, the Queen in the North, my two little pop Funkos of Sansa Stark, and then we have The Wit and the Wisdom of Tyrion Lannister, A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords Part 1, Steel and Snow, A Storm of Swords Part 2, Blood and Gold, A Feast for Crows, then A Dance with Dragons Part 1, Dreams and Dust, A Dance with Dragons Part 2, After the Feast, and then A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, all by George R.R. Martin. Then next up is my poetry shelf, which is definitely an area I'm building upon and want to learn more about. We have two of my zines, one by Lena Norms and one by Ariel Bissett. Then we have The Princess Saves Herself in this one by Amanda Lovelace, Mind Platter by Najwa Zebian, Why God is a Woman by Nin Andrews, The Hungry Ghost Festival by Jen Campbell, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight translated by Simon Armitage, Teaching My Mother How to Give Birth by Warson Shire, The Forward Book of Poetry for 2018, then Hold Your Own and Running Upon the Wires, both by Kate Tempest, then Plum by Holly McNish, and Still I Rise by Maya Angelou, Somebody Give This Heart a Pen by Sophia Thakur, Citizen, an American Lyric by Claudia Rankin, The Bronte Sisters Selected Poetry, Milk and Honey and The Sun and Her Flowers, both by Ruby Kaur, She Must Be Mad by Charlie Cox, Beowulf translated by Seamus Heaney, Carol Ann Duffy's The World's Wife. Then this collection of First World War poetry, I have Sigrid Sassoon, Wilfred Owen, Rupert Brooke, Edward Thomas, David Jones and Robert Graves. Then I have selected poems by John Donne, Songs of Innocence and of Experience by William Blake, and then The Night is Darkening Round Me by Emily Bronte. Next up is my play shelf, which is quite an underdeveloped area of my reading. I'm a big fan of musical theatre, but straight plays aren't really my forte. Decorating my shelf is my little flowery skull. I call her Ophelia, of course. Then we have the Norton Anthology of Shakespeare, which is the complete works of William Shakespeare and is quite a chunky boy. Then we have Where Do Little Birds Go by Camilla Whitehill, Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe, The Crucible by Arthur Miller, Blood Brothers by Willie Russell, Journey's End by R.C. Sheriff, The Effect by Lucy Preble, Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Then we have this collection of Pelican Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Titus Andronicus, Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, The Taming of the Shrew, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Then we have the Penguin editions of King Lear and Much Ado About Nothing, The Winter's Tale and Twelfth Night. And then this bottom shelf, once again, is a bit of a mishmash of scrapbooks and magazines, but then there are a few books that I can show you. We've got Fashion Box, The Immortal Icons of Style, which is all about vintage fashion, photos. Then What We See in the Sky, an illustrated tour of the night sky by Kelsey Syed. Then we have Queer, a graphic history by Meg John Barker and Julius Keeley. Then The Vintage Tea Party book. Then Hamilton, The Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda and James McAster. Then Wicked, The Grimmery. And then Audrey 100, which is 100 photos of Audrey Hepburn. And then case number 3 is where all of my beautiful classics and then my general fiction live, all of the paperbacks that is, and it is in colour order, which I know is blasphemous for some, but I think it's pretty, so. So on this first shelf are all some stunning editions of classic literature. Firstly, we have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, 2 editions of Les Mis, the Every Man's Library and the Penguin Deluxe Classic. Then we have Sense and Sensibility and Emma by Jane Austen. Then we have Northanger Abbey, Persuasion, Mansfield Park and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Then A Room of One's Own, Mrs. Dalloway, Orlando and To the Lighthouse, all by Virginia Woolf. The Tenant of Walthall Hall and Wuthering Heights by Anne and Emily Bronte. Then Agnes Grey and Villette by Anne and Charlotte Bronte. And then finally Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Then we have A Room with a View and Howard's End, both by E.M. Forster. And then in my Penguin Clothbound classics, we have Anna Karenina by Lev Tolstoy and Don Quixote by Cervantes. And then finally, we have Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Then we have some more classics on this shelf, decorated by my lovely little violin ornament. Starting with Penguin English Library, we have A Study in Scarlet, The Signs of Four, The Hound of the Baskervilles, and The Valley of Fear. Then short story collections, we have The Adventure of the Six Napoleons and Other Cases, The Five Orange Pips and Other Cases, and The Adventures of the Engineer's Thumb and Other Cases, all by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Then we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, and The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Then we have Daisy Miller and the Turn of the Screw by Henry James, Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift, Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, and The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. And then we have Moby Dick by Herman Melville, Evelina by Frances Burney, North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, and Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. Then we have my Penguin Modern Classics, Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys, Kafka's The Trial, On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and The Outsider by Albert Camus. Then we have my John Steinbecks in this edition, The Pearl, The Red Pony, Of Mice and Men, and Cannery Row. Then we have the Penguin Vintage Classics, The Dumb House by John Burnside, If on a Winter's Night, A Traveller by Italo Calvino, and then my Hemingways, we have The Old Man and the Sea, Fiesta, The Sun Also Rises, and The Snows of Kilimanjaro. Then we have The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, The Lord of the Flies by William Golding, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux, Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, Animal Farm and 1984 by George Orwell, The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and finally The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This next shelf is where all my general fiction paperbacks live, and as I said before, it is in rainbow order, which I know is sacrilegious to many, but I absolutely adore it. Then decorating it are my 2 little York souvenirs, my duck and my coaster, and then a birthday card from my birthday in March, because we're in lockdown and time is meaningless. Firstly, we have Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zuzak, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, Elizabeth is Missing by Emma Healy, The Power by Naomi Alderman, Don't You Forget About Me by Vari McFarlane, When I Hit You by Mina Kandasamy, The Summer of Impossible Things by Rowan Coleman, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, Ordinary People by Diana Evans, A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, Treats by Laura Williams, Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Annie Barrows and Marianne Schaffer, A Spool of Blue Thread by Ann Tyler, The Reader by Bernard Schlink, Holly Bourne's How Do You Like Me Now, Tin Man by Sarah Winman, Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, Spring Garden by Tomoka Shibasaki, An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, Lullaby by Leila Slimani, The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold, All My Friends Are Superheroes by Andrew Kaufman, Room by Emma Donoghue, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, How to Stop Time by Matt Haig, The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, The Library of Unrequited Love by Sophie Devry, The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas by John Boyne, Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel, The Children Act by Ian McEwan, Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, Hotel Silence by Oa Eva Olufsdotter, Jeffrey Eugenides' The Virgin Suicides, Wait by Jeanette Winterson, Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Carol Rifka Brunt, Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, And the Mountains Echoed by Khaled Hosseini, The Vegetarian by Han Kang, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, Gachar Gachar by Vivek Shanbag, The Testament of Mary by Colm Tobin, Birdsong by Sebastian Vokes, Hilary Mantel's The Wolf Hall, The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. And then the next shelf of general paperback fiction, we have The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry by Rachel Joyce, The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing by Emma McBride, Bridget Jones's Diary by Helen Fielding, The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, Lanny by Max Porter, The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, The Reluctant Fundamentalist by Musan Hamid, Atonement by Ian McEwan, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, Girl Meets Boy by Ali Smith, Adele by Leila Slimani, The End We Start From by Megan Hunter, The Colour Purple by Alice Walker, Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World by Haruki Murakami, The White Book by Han Kang, Notes on a Scandal by Zoe Haller, Oranges Are Not the Only Flute by Jeanette Winterson, The Road by Cormac McCarthy, Our Endless Numbered Days by Claire Fuller, Grief is the Thing with Feathers by Max Porter, The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy, The Book Collector by Alice Thompson, My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time by Mark Haddon, Circe by Madeline Miller, The Wonder by Emma Donoghue, Brooklyn by Colm Tobin, Purple Hibiscus and Americana, both by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger, Wicked by Gregory Maguire, Once Upon a River and Bellman in Black, both by Diane Setterfeld, Colourless Sakura Tuzaki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Murakami, Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, The Bone China by Laura Purcell, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Chalkman by C.J. Tudor, The Faster I Walk, The Smaller I Am by Kirsty A. Skomsvold, Sally Rooney's Mr. Salary, and Birthday Girl by Haruki Murakami. Then onto this very sparse shelf, we just have a few hangovers from my hardback fiction, Goodbye Vitamin by Rachel Kong, My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite, and this hardback of Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which came without its dust jacket. Then we have this classics shelf, which is full mainly of the Penguin Black classics, which I know are an institution on BookTube, but I don't find them very pretty, I'm sorry, so I do keep them on the bottom shelf. Firstly, we have these two Bibles, you know, as you do. I have this Rainbow Children's Good News Bible and then the New International. Then I have The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and then Paradise Lost by John Milton. Then I have the Odyssey and the Iliad by Homer, the Aeneid by Virgil, the Nicomachean Ethics and the Poetics by Aristotle. Then I have the Symposium, The Last Days of Socrates and the Republic by Plato, the Three Theban Plays by Sophocles. Then I have Lysistrata and Other Plays by Aristophanes, the Oresteia by Aeschylus. Then I have Medea and Other Plays by Euripides and Ovid's Metamorphoses. Then I've got the Histories by Herodotus as translated by Tom Holland, Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, Le Morte d'Arthur by Thomas Malory, Francis Bacon's Essays. Then I have The Divine Comedy by Dante, Giovanni Boccaccio's The Decameron, and then the complete essays of Michel de Montaigne. And then on the final bookcase, we have my hardback fiction and non-fiction. Starting off, we have my hardback fiction, which is all colour coordinated in rainbow shelves, of course. Autumn by Ali Smith, The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gower, Homegoing by Yao Gyasi, Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller, Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo, We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler, The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, The Lido by Libby Page, English Animals by Laura Kay, Spring by Ali Smith, The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel, The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow, The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell, Miss Austen by Jill Hornby, On Chesil Beach by Ian McEwan, Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams, Exit West by Mohsen Hamid, The Animals at Lockwood Manor by Jane Healy, The Foundling by Stacey Halls, 1,000 Splendid Ships by Natalie Haynes, and Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. Then onto the next shelf we have All This Is Nothing to Do With Me by Monica Cibolo, The Confession by Jessie Burton, Swimmer Among the Stars by Kanish Theroux, Normal People by Sally Rooney, 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in This Strange World by Elif Shafak, Home Fire by Camille Shamsi, My Dog Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, 3 Things About Elsie by Joanna Cannon, Motherhood by Sheila Hetty, Mr. Pip by Lloyd Jones, Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, Etta and Otto and Russell and James by Emma Hooper, The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes, The Good People by Hannah Kent, The Good Man Jesus and the Scoundrel Christ by Philip Pullman, Exquisite Cadavers by Mina Kandasamy, Elmet by Fiona Mosley, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer, Winter by Ali Smith, The Penelopead by Margaret Atwood, The Gracekeepers by Kirsty Logan, The Binding by Bridget Collins, A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza, and The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. And then the next shelf is where my non-fiction starts, and this is mainly book and literature related and memoirs with a few miscellaneous inside. Then decorating this shelf is my little elephant tray which has all of my enamel pins on it. Then we have The Bookshop Book and Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops by Jen Campbell, The Unknown Unknown, Bookshops and the Delight of Not Getting What You Wanted by Mark Forsyth, Dear Fahrenheit 451 by Annie Spence, Stop What You're Doing and Read This, which is a collection of essays, Bookworm, a memoir of childhood reading by Lucy Mangan, The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Blythell, What Matters in Jane Austen by John Mullen, Jane Austen, A Secret Radical by Helena Kelly, Beginning Theory by Peter Barry, The Elements of Eloquence and the Horologicon by Mark Forsyth, then Quiet by Susan Kane, So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Ronson, Eat Up by Ruby Tando, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, The Philosophy Files Part 1 and 2 by Stephen Law, Love Voltaire Apart by Julia Eidelman, 7 Brief Lessons on Physics by Carlo Rovelli, Classic FM's musical Miscellany, Musicals, Facts, Figures and Fun by Mike Evans. Our Rainbow Queen by Sally Hughes. Late Fragments by Kate Gross. What Would Audrey Do by Pamela Keogh. The Time in Between by Nancy Tucker. Lowborn by Kerry Hudson. 'Twas the Night Shift Before Christmas and This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. Where Am I Now by Maura Wilson. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings and Gather Together in My Name by Maya Angelou. The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I Am by Maggie O'Farrell. When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. The Language of Kindness by Christy Watson. Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal by Jeanette Winterson. Names for the Sea by Sarah Moss, and Educated by Tara Westover. And then on to the next shelf we have books to do with productivity, minimalism, feminism and social activism. We start off with The Productivity Project by Chris Bailey, Bored and Brilliant by Manoush Somarodi, An Edited Life by Anna Newton, then The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck, Get Your Shit Together, You Do You and Fuck No by Sarah Knight, then The Curated Closet by Anushka Rees, The Joy of Less by Francine J, Daily Rituals and Daily Rituals Women at Work by Mason Curry, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, How to Be a Productivity Ninja, How to Be a Study Ninja and Get Your Inbox Down to Zero by Graham Alcott, then Sleepfaring by Jim Horn, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying by Mario Kondo, Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki, My Morning Routine by Benjamin Spall and Michael Zander, L'Art de la Simplicity by Dominique Leroux, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's We Should All Be Feminist and Dear A.J. Owele, A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions, Women in Power by Mary Beard, Man Up by Jack Irwin, Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit, How to Be Right in a World Gone Wrong by James O'Brien, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge, The Good Immigrant and Rife Essays edited by Nikesh Shukla, Everyday Sexism and Misogynation both by Laura Bates, How to Be a Woman by Caitlin Moran, Testosterone Rex by Cordelia Fine, and Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. And then the last two shelves are where all of my history books live. As I said before, I don't actually own that many history books because most of the time at university I got books out of the library, so I'm really trying to build these up. Firstly, we have SPQR by Mary Beard, Medieval Women by Henrietta Lacey, Medieval Bodies by Jack Hartnell, The Time Traveller's Guide to Medieval England, The Time Traveller's Guide to Elizabethan England, and The Time Traveller's Guide to Restoration Britain by Ian Mortimer. Then Medieval Lives by Terry Jones, Isabella, She-Wolf of France, Queen of England by Alison Weir, New World's Lost Worlds by Susan Brigden, The Private Lives of the Tudors by Tracy Borman, Elizabeth of York, the First Tudor Queen by Alison Weir, The Life of Thomas More by Peter Ackroyd, Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's Obsession by Elizabeth Norton, The Lady in the Tower, The Fall of Anne Boleyn by Alison Weir, Young and Damned and Fair, The Life and Tragedy of Catherine Howard at the Court of Henry VIII by Gareth Russell, Black Tudors, The Untold Story by Miranda Kaufman, Political Shakespeare, which is a collection of essays, Early Modern England, A Social History from 1550 to 1760 by Jim Sharp, Shakespeare and Politics, edited by Catherine Alexander, The Origins of Sex, A History of the First Sexual Revolution by Farah Debo, Behind Closed Doors, At Home in Georgian England by Amanda Vickery, Walpole's Queen of Comedy, which is a biography of Elizabeth Farren by Susanna Bloxham, then The Beau Monde by Hannah Gregg, Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow, Gentleman Jack by Anne Choma, The Five, The Untold Story of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Holly Rubenheld, and From Kaiser to Führer, Germany 1900 to 1945. And then onto the final shelf, the homeward stretch, we have History Year by Year, published by DK, How It All Started, The History Behind the Way Our World Works Today by Reader's Digest, Georgiana's World, The Illustrated Georgiana, Duchess of Devonshire by Amanda Foreman, The Gender of Death, A Cultural History in Art and Literature by Carl S. Guth, then Dead Famous, The Unexpected History of Celebrity by Greg Jenner, Public History, Essays from the Field, Studying History, which is a history student's standard. Mom Darling, 99 Glimpses of Princess Margaret by Craig Brown. Historians on Hamilton, which is a collection of essays on the show. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. A Short History of England by Simon Jenkins. A History of the World in 100 Objects by Neil McGregor. A Short History of Drunkenness by Mark Forsyth. The Uses and Abuses of History by Margaret Macmillan. Written in History, Letters That Changed the World. Love Letters of the Great War, edited by Mandy Kirkby. Politics and the English Language by George Orwell. And then these Penguin Modern Classics, The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House by Audre Lorde, and Notes on Nationalism by George Orwell. Then the Penguin Little Black Classics, Oscar Wilde's Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast, and a collection about the suffragettes. Then we have the Penguin Great Ideas series, we have Books vs. Cigarettes and Why I Write by George Orwell, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and On the Shortness of Life by Seneca. Then from the Penguin Great Food series, we have Alice Waters, Claudia Rodin, and Alexandre Dumas. Then we have Isabella Beaton, Charles Lamb, and Brillette Severin. Then we have Hannah Glass and Gervase Marker. And that is it. That is every single book on my shelves. I am going to take a rest now because my voice is hurting. Thanks, bye!